Welcome back to Connect and Transform. I'm going to briefly talk about a project here that I did about 5 years ago because I'm going to start a similar project. I created this integrated control module for one of my vehicles, and according to the date here, I designed this circuit board around February of 2020, making it 5+ years ago that I worked on this project. I had several of these circuit boards printed out, and I soldered one of them together, and it is still existing and working and functioning in one of my vehicles. I have some tape here to hide the VIN number, my name, email address, etc., that I had printed directly onto the silkscreen layer of the circuit board. So to give you a general idea of what this one was, which will also be a general idea of the future project, I have one main chip here that handled most of the logic, and then I had some dedicated chips here that handled input or output processing. I probably won't have so many chips on the new project. There might be 2 or 3. I suppose it could also theoretically be 1, but I'm expecting that there will be at least 2 and at most 3 chips. And on this particular board, I had 6-pin programming headers for each chip, so I could plug my programmer in and then program each chip individually. And I did write the software for each of these chips, and I will do so in the future project as well. The majority of what you see on the board here is terminal blocks that allow you to screw in one end of a wire to the circuit board, and then the other end was soldered into the vehicle's electrical system. And although that is somewhat invasive, I'm planning on doing the same thing. I had a main fuse block here, and then the majority of the other components were resistors, diodes, small MOSFETs, and then larger MOSFETs. And that will generally remain true, except that I do intend to use opto-isolators for all inputs and outputs, which is what I should have done in this project from 5 years ago, but I didn't. So I'm planning on doing that in the future project. So the future project will be a lot smaller than this. I would be surprised if it ends up being even half the size of this old board, because most of the features that this board provided me 5 years ago with this other vehicle already exist in my newer used vehicle that I just got about a week ago. So there's really only 2, 3, 4 things that I want to add to this newer old vehicle, most of which revolve around lighting, synchronizations, and heated seats and heated steering wheel. So for example, I want the fog lights to come on with the engine at all times for my safety and for other vehicles' safety. And that's probably something that I could code in with off-the-shelf tools. I may have to pay a little bit for them, and I will look into that option before deciding whether or not to incorporate that feature into this into the circuit board that I plan to create. So I want to have automatic fog lights, but then there's other things that I want that are simply not options. I can't just go code them in because they weren't already options from the manufacturer. And that includes, for this particular chassis and generation of BMW X5, I want to have automated heated seats, at least for the driver, based on internal and external temperature. And probably I want to have automated heated seats for non-driver positions based on whether or not the seatbelt is in use, or possibly I'll tie into a pressure sensor. And then for the non-driver positions, it would either be off or it would be on the low position. But for the driver, I do want to have some logic so that it can actually be low, medium, or high, or off. And then in addition, in particular, I want to have custom logic around the heated steering wheel because I want it to automatically turn on based on internal and external temperatures. But not only that, I've noticed that the heated steering wheel gets really hot really fast because there's a huge differential between the heated steering wheel and your hands. But then over time, as your hands warm up, that differential goes down, and so that it doesn't feel as hot anymore. So my intention is to design it so that it starts out at a lower duty cycle, and then over time, as it's presumably warming up your hands, it can increase the duty cycle, and then the temperature differential between the steering wheel and your hands will hopefully be about the same throughout the duration. So basically, I just want to have a little module that customizes the heated seats, heated steering, the automatic fog lights, and I might look into a couple other things like automatic AC and stuff like that. But primarily I'm looking at functions that can't simply be coded in, but if it comes down to it where there are only one or two things that I would be coding with manufacturer provided options, I might just incorporate that into a customized board like this and avoid the additional expense and setup of that additional tooling. So that's a very rough overview of the vehicle custom module that I plan to make for my BMW X5, which is on the F15 platform. It will primarily have functions around heated seats, heated steering, and fog lights. And I will retain the USB port, which will give me UART communication with the main chip, and then from the main chip I can get communication from the other chips. So thanks for watching.